Rose was a widow, and beautiful in a way that made the cicadas hush when she walked by. Plenty of Stillwater's lowlives liked to feel their way to the Maxwell trailer once the single traffic light blinked out. And Rose never turned a soul away. The door stood wide open every night. Yet every man who crossed our threshold was either bedridden within a week or dead before the seventh sunrise. That afternoon a traveling pastor froze on the gravel when Creed saw me. "Black fog on your crown, you were born of a corpse?" "No, more than that. You're living with the dead." 1. Rose was the prettiest woman in our dust-blown town. Past 30, she looked maybe 20 at first glance. 20 in the face, 30 in the slow swing of her hips. Half the men in Stillwater walked around dazed, humming her name like a hymn. She never flirted first, but if a man wandered into her orbit she let him stay. The wives hated her so bad their jaws clenched when they passed her on the cracked sidewalk. "Fox spirit," they hissed. Rose only smiled. "Better you keep your man than curse me for taking him." The insults landed soft as a fist in cotton, and after a while the women gave up swinging. 2. That week a pastor came begging door to door. I clutched a square of cornbread and ran to give it to him. The moment Creed saw me his face strained. "What are you?" I yanked the bread back. "What thing is the worst curse we've got?" I spun to leave, but Creed patted after me, apologizing sweet as iced tea. Creed dug in his pocket and poured a rainbow of jawbreakers into my palm. "Didn't mean to offend, little brother." I sucked one cherry sweet and answered before thinking. "I live with Rose." His brows knit. "Face says corpse child, but a corpse child has no mama." I didn't understand the fancy talk. "Say it plain." Creed grinned, eyes shining. "Mountain's not mountain, river's not river. Mountain is mountain, river is river. Got more candy if you want it." I nodded so hard my neck cracked. "Yes, sir. Tonight, sneak a spring onion under your mom's bed. Bring it to me at sunup." "Trade the onion for these jawbreakers, deal?" Onions grew like weeds, candy came only at Christmas. I squinted. "You lying?" "Preacher don't lie." "But the onion has to spend the night under her bed, and she can't catch you." I considered, then nodded. "Easy. I'll do it while she fries okra." "Same spot tomorrow," Creed said, and I ran home. 3. Rose met me at the screen door, towel in hand. "Wild little monkey, where you been?" I lied and told her the creek. She let it slide, promising supper. While she stirred pots, I slipped into her room and slid a spring onion beneath the iron bed frame. That night the trailer door creaked open again. Boots shuffled, belt buckles chimed, and I pulled the blanket over my head until the springs quieted. 4. I woke before the roosters, snatched the wilted onion, and sprinted to the crossroads. The pastor lay curled on the warm hood of a busted Pontiac. "You slept outside?" I asked, shaking him. "Sky for quilt, earth for mattress," Creed muttered, sitting up. "Onion here, candy now." The moment his fingers touched the green stalk his smile died. "More than a walking corpse, what is she?" Only then did I see the onion last night bright, now brown and limp as hay. Creed looked at me hard. "Your mama ain't human." I came up swinging. "Your mama ain't human. Quit cussing mine." Creed apologized fast. "I mean, she might not be the woman you think she is. You ever notice she looks younger than she should, and every man who visits dies?" Cold sweat pricked my neck, the tally rang true, but I set my jaw. "That don't prove squat." Creed pulled a folded charm paper from his shirt. "Tonight, creep to her door at the wolf hour. Stick this on your chest. Then look through the keyhole and see what really breathes inside that skin." I stared at the yellow slip, then took it. "Keep it on you," Creed warned. "If she sees you, you're already buried." I walked home slow, cornbread turning to ash in my mouth. 5. Rose had biscuits and red-eye gravy waiting. I pushed food around the plate. She tilted her head. "Ain't hungry, baby? Little boys need meat on their bones." Eat up tomorrow, I'm frying chicken. Her voice was syrup, same as always, and my throat burned. I shoved the plate away and bolted to my room, blinking hard at the ceiling, the charm paper crinkling like a heartbeat in my pocket. The charm paper Pastor had given me trembled in my hand, and I couldn't settle on yes or no. Next door the low, broken moaning kicked up again. I thought about the men who'd come to our trailer and ended up dead within a week, wiped my face, and made up my mind, once that man left, I would go see for myself whether Rose was really what Pastor claimed. Letting my thoughts run wild was eating me alive. I lost track of how Maxwell it dragged on before the noise finally quit. Then came the creak of the door opening and the soft thud of it shutting again. The man was gone. I slipped off the mattress, toe to heel, so lightly I was sure Rose wouldn't catch the scuff. I pressed the charm paper Pastor had given me to my forehead and peered through the window glass into the room. Rose lay on the bed without the smallest twitch for the longest time. Just as I let out a breath, thinking Pastor had spun another lie, Rose moved. Her eyes snapped open and she sat bolt upright. In the moonwash I saw that her eyes were nothing but white, no pupils, no irises. Her face was bleached like someone had smeared drywall dust over it. Not a single drop of the pink that belongs to the living. Those all-white eyes pinned themselves to the spot where I stood. I stopped breathing, every inch of me shook. I was sure she'd spotted me when, suddenly, she turned her head away. She rose from the bed and drifted to the mirror. Once she'd settled on the stool, she gathered her hair, gave a gentle tug, and the whole skin of her body peeled off in one sheet. Only a slick red frame remained, holding that empty pelt. She combed the hair on the flayed hide, penciled its brows, painted its lids, every step in perfect order. I don't know how I kept watching while she finished her calm, practiced routine. All I know is that by the time I crawled back to my room my clothes were soaked through. I curled under the blanket, shuddering so hard my teeth rattled. How could it be like this? Pastor had told the truth, Rose wasn't Rose anymore. I'd seen it with my own eyes, I couldn't talk myself out of believing. Yet she had always been so good to me. 6. At the first gray streak of dawn I skipped breakfast and ran to the ridge to find Pastor. Pastor was perched on a boulder, humming a hymn like Creed had slept on silk. Creed caught sight of me and his eyes lit up. You're here. I've been waiting, took you Maxwell enough. I'd rehearsed 100 questions on the way, but the moment I saw him every word jammed in my throat. In the end I only managed, how did you know she isn't Rose? Pastor studied me, grin wide. You told me yourself. Your crown's black as coal and cold rolls off you in waves, classic signs of a kid who's been bunking with a corpse. At that I dropped my gaze and mumbled, but she's good to me, really. She's never once hurt me, she's my own mom. The kindness drained from Pastor's face the instant the sentence left my mouth, replaced by something dark and sharp. The shift knocked me off balance, I nearly stumbled backward. When Creed saw me flinch, Creed softened again, the gentle mask sliding back into place. Creed sighed and ruffled my hair. Leo, gratitude's a fine thing. But how do you know her kindness is real? I told you before, sometimes the mountain you see isn't a mountain, the river you see isn't a river. Some folks smile while they sharpen the blade they'll use on you. Your mama's rapping is still your mama, but what's inside traded places a Maxwell time ago. Pastor's words were wrapped in velvet and I couldn't unwrap most of them. The only line that stuck was the last, whatever lived in Rose had quit being Rose. I stared at him. If she stopped being Rose, who is she now? And why hasn't she ever hurt me? Why is she so good to me? Pastor shook his head. She isn't sparing you, the hour just hasn't struck. If I'm right, the thing wearing your mother is the Virgin of Puco. The Virgin of what? I asked, lost. Pastor patted a flat rock beside him. Sit, I'll explain it slow. I obeyed, and only then did Creed go on. Maxwell ago the Virgin of Puco was a vengeful wraith. When she was young she doted on her children, but when age chained her to a sickbed not one of them would bother. Not a single child stayed to feed her, she starved to death alone. They let her rot where she lay, wouldn't even cover her with dirt. Such filial betrayal brewed a fury so black she turned into a sky-cursing fiend. She likes to slip inside a mother's skin, raise the child tenderly, then butcher him for sport because she swears every child on earth deserves to die. By the time Pastor finished, cold sweat beaded on my scalp. You mean the thing inside Rose is this virgin? Pastor nodded, then narrowed his eyes. Worse, she's the one who murdered your real mother. She devours a man's essence, that's why every male who sets foot in your trailer is dead inside 7 days. Their life force is sucked clean before they even feel it go. His words left me stunned so Maxwell the ridge itself seemed to stop spinning. The person I loved most had killed the mother I never knew. Pastor let out a Maxwell breath. I know this is a load to drop on a kid. But even if you can swallow your own mother's murder, you'd better think hard about staying alive. The virgin likes her meat raised by her own hand, fattened on trust. You're about 10, give or take, she'll come for you soon. Do you want to die or do you want to live? I stayed quiet while my mind raced, chewing every piece of what Creed had fed me. Pastor didn't push, Creed simply waited, watching. Finally I lifted my head and said, steady as I could, I want to live. Pastor's smile spread slow and sure, like Creed had called the coin toss before it landed. Then we've got work to do. Creed pressed 3 charm papers into my palm and 1 jawbreaker into the other. His voice dropped to a grave whisper. Remember, drop the candy in her bowl, stick 1 paper under the bed, nail the other 2 to the doorframe. I nodded that I had it, and Creed made me repeat the instructions twice before Creed was satisfied. 7. I drifted home like a ghost. The moment I stepped inside, the smell of supper rushed at me. Rose saw me and smiled. She came over, smoothed my hair, and said, you rushed off so fast this morning you forgot breakfast. Go wash up, Mom stewed chicken for you. My nose stung and tears almost spilled. I ducked my head and ran like I was escaping. While Rose wasn't looking, I clenched my teeth and stuck the charm paper Pastor had given me under her bed and on the doorframe. When it was done, I dragged my feet to the kitchen. Rose already had the bowls filled and was waiting. Like always, most of the chicken was in my bowl. Hers held only a few scraps, almost all broth. I swallowed the sourness in my throat and said, Mom, is there any cornbread? I've got a sudden craving. The second she heard cornbread she jumped up to get it. My hand shook as I took out the jawbreaker Pastor had given me. I hesitated, then dropped it into her bowl. I watched her drink every last drop of the soup. I couldn't name the feeling, relief and a sick ache twisted together. That night I lay in bed tossing, nerves jumping. Suddenly the low moans next door turned into a scream that ripped the air. I bolted upright, heart hammering. I sprinted to Rose's door and saw a bare-chested man scramble out on all fours. Rose's skin was sloughing off in patches, raw meat underneath. When she saw me, panic flashed across her paper-white face. She tried to cover the rot with her hands. Jordan, don't look. You'll get scared. My tears broke loose. I shouted, you're not Rose. What are you? Why did you kill her? Rose's hands fluttered. Jordan, no, I am your mom. She kept talking as she stumbled toward me. The moment she reached the doorway she was flung backward. I watched, ice in my chest, as she slammed against the frame again and again. A monk's chant cut through the thuds. Pastor had arrived. 8. Pastor studied Rose. You swallowed my black blood pill. Within a day your power's gone. Stop fighting. Rose bared her teeth. Who are you? Come at me, leave my son alone. Pastor snorted. A walking corpse defying heaven, living with a child. I'm doing heaven's work. Surrender quietly and the boy stays safe. Rose looked at me and stopped struggling. Tears streaked her ruined face, making it worse. I scuttled behind Pastor. Master, take her now. She's not human, she's terrifying. Rose froze, staring at me. After a Maxwell moment she whispered, all right, what mother could ever hate her child? With no fight left in her, Pastor subdued her without effort. I asked, What will you do with her? Pastor's eyes narrowed, shadow pooling in them. Tomorrow we bake her in the sun till the corpse steam's gone. Then we nail her in the scarlet coffin so she can never rise again. The words never rise jerked me like a slap. But you're a pastor, can't you pray her onward? Why damn her forever? Pastor's smile was thin and merciless. Evil is evil, every last bit must be wiped out. She's murdered plenty. Eternal lockdown is only fair. Kid, kindness is good, but facts are facts. I stood gaping, mouth open, nothing more to say. 9. At dawn Pastor made me help carry Rose into the yard. The instant sunlight touched her, black vapor hissed from her skin. Flesh peeled away faster than I could watch. Her eyes stayed shut, her mouth closed, yet a shrill scream bored straight into my skull. I hid behind Pastor, trembling. Creed patted my head, almost cheerful. This is how devils burn off, nothing to fear. She'll quiet down soon. I stared at him. Why are you so happy? Creed grinned. Destroying evil is my life's calling. Shouldn't I rejoice? I dropped my gaze and said nothing. When the last strip of skin slid away, the screaming finally stopped. Pastor beamed and waved me over. Together we lifted what was left into the coffin. Wiping sweat, Creed said, I'm clergy, I can't kill. But to bind her, we need rooster blood. Go pick a rooster, slit its throat, drain it, and bring me the bowl. That blood will scatter her soul for good. Still silent, I walked to the chicken run out back. Hens clucked in small groups. Mom once teased she'd sell them one day to buy me a bride. The memory punched my throat, tears blurred everything. I scrubbed my face with my sleeve, chose the fattest old hen, drained her blood, and carried the bowl to Pastor. Creed took it, then sent me for a ball of red twine and several iron spikes. Creed soaked twine and spikes in the blood, smiling like a kindly uncle. Twine to truss her, spikes to seal the lid, no splash left to make. His gentle smile sent an arctic shiver down my spine. After the soak, about the time it takes a stick of incense to burn, Creed fished everything out. Creed wound the red twine around Rose, coil after careful coil. When every inch was checked and rechecked, Creed exhaled, satisfied, and lowered the lid. Task done, Pastor scanned the yard, ice slits. This place faces away from the sun shadows year-round, too much een. The coffin can't stay here. I'll get men to haul it up to the ridge. I said nothing. Creed strode out the gate alone. When Creed came back, several burly men trailed behind him. Without a word they lifted Rose's coffin and started up the bluff. I followed, step for step. At the summit Pastor said, "This is far enough. Set it here." One of them, mopping sweat, asked, "Preacher, where do we dig the grave?" Pastor pressed his palms together and shook his head. "No grave. Leave it on the ground." The moment the sentence left his mouth everyone froze. Pastor explained, the coffin holds a walking corpse, and the soil beneath the topsoil has never seen sunlight, it's coldest in earth. Burying the box would only feed it. The best cure is to let the coffin sit on the bluff, baking under the sun for 7 times 7 days. When the 49th sunset is gone, the thing inside will turn to dust. At the words "turn to dust" something stabbed through my chest like an awl. Pastor looked at me. "Kid, I've got other business. I'll be back after the 7th week, once the evil's burned away. Take care of yourself." I stared at him, blank, saying nothing. Pastor and the men went down the ridge on their own. I stood beside the coffin of Maxwell while until sunset smothered the sun. Only then did I realize night was almost on me. 10. I drifted down the ridge in a daze. When I reached the trailer I saw a ring of women blocking the door. They glared. Before I could speak the fattest one stepped up and slapped me hard. "You wicked mother of yours killed my man," she spat. "Give him back." With the first blow given, the rest surged in, no longer holding back. While they punched and kicked I thought of Rose. When she was around no one dared lay a hand on me. Now she was gone and anyone could. Luckily their hate stopped short of murder. When they tired they broke off and left. I crawled up, limped inside, and locked the door. Near midnight my whole body throbbed, my throat felt torched, as if flames might shoot out. I wanted water but I was limp, no strength at all. I was sure I was dying when someone tipped a cup to my lips. Next morning I woke to find Eleanor frowning beside the bed. My nose stung, I threw myself into her arms and sobbed. When I was cried out she sighed. 2 nights ago every stick of incense in the prayer shed snapped clean in half. I knew calamity had struck. Hush now, Leo, tell me what happened. I hiccuped the whole story. When I finished her face was dark as storm water. She ground her molars. Fine holy man, monks aren't supposed to lie, yet Creed conned a child. Despicable. Her words froze me. Grandma, you mean Pastor tricked me? What did Creed lie about? She looked at me, half pity, half scolding. Every word Creed spoke was bait. How could you let 2 or 3 sentences make you doubt the woman who raised you 10 years? She isn't some walking corpse, she's your own mother. No, I said, shaking my head violently. I saw it. Rose, she isn't human. Eleanor hugged me again. Don't cry, Leo, Grandma spoke too harsh. You're a child, how could you know? That old preacher baited every hook, it'd be strange if you hadn't bitten. But your mother, she truly is your mother. She sighed and began the tale. 11. Eleanor said that when Rose was young she was the prettiest girl in 3 counties. Suitors nearly wore the threshold down asking for her hand. Yet Rose set her heart on plain, quiet Jack. Luckily Eleanor and her husband were open-minded, if Rose was willing, they would not object. So Jack married her without trouble. Not Maxwell after, Rose became pregnant. But they were dirt poor, every household skipped meals. Rose grew thinner daily, mother and unborn child were slipping toward death. Jack, frantic, made a desperate choice. Creed climbed the ridge, raided several snake nests, and brought back baby rattlers to stew for Rose. Snake meat is powerful nourishment. Rose's color returned, her belly rounded. Seeing it worked, Jack went up the ridge more often. Yet snakes hold grudges and carry spirits, especially the wild ones deep in the hills, sinister things. Walk the road Maxwell enough and you'll step in blood. At 9 months a tide of serpents surrounded the trailer. Jack, as if expecting them, stayed calm. Creed kissed Rose's cheek. Trading my life for yours and the baby's? I couldn't be happier. Snake keeps accounts, they want me, not you or the child. Only then did Rose realize the shredded meat Creed had fed her was serpent. Jack's last words were, *live well. I don't regret a thing. Rose watched the living rope of snakes drag him away. She wanted to die with him, but I was still inside her, so she endured. Our lives had been bought with his, she had to protect them. Yet widows draw wolves, and Rose was beautiful. At first the trash of Stillwater only whispered filth. When they saw she was helpless they lost all fear. On a rainy night a pack broke into the trailer. They didn't care that she was full term, they took her like animals. By the time Eleanor and her husband arrived Rose was gone. But I was still moving in her womb. Eleanor, teeth clenched, took scissors and cut me from the body of my dead mother. Tears streamed down her face. Leo, your mother's life was nothing but bitterness. Death should have freed her but she wouldn't leave. Night after night she begged in dreams, *I can't rest, I need to stay for Leo. At last I used the forbidden rite and stitched her spirit back into her flesh. These years she has piled up corpses, yes, but every one of them had raped her. She only killed the ones who deserved killing. By now I was choking on my own sobs. What in God's name have I done? 12. I rolled off the bed and knocked my forehead against the floor for Eleanor, bang bang bang. Eleanor, please, I'm begging you, save Rose. I'll do anything, anything at all, if it'll bring Rose back. Eleanor looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Jordan, your mom is the daughter I carried for 9 months. I want to save her even more than you do. But using rooster blood to seal that coffin is too dark. I've got no way out. I cut her off, frantic. Eleanor, it wasn't rooster blood, not rooster blood. Pastor said if I used rooster blood, Rose would never be reborn. I couldn't bear that, so I bled the old hen instead. What? Eleanor shot upright the instant she heard old hen. She grabbed my hands. Leo, tell me you're telling the truth. I nodded so hard my neck hurt. It's true, every word. Eleanor wept openly. Lord have mercy, my girl still has a chance. She wiped her cheeks, then locked her eyes on mine. Leo, you're a pure boy and her flesh and blood. You're the only one who can save her now. Eleanor, whatever it takes, I'll do it. She kept nodding, saying, good, good, over and over. 13. After dark, Eleanor pressed a white lantern into my hands. She called it a soul lantern, said I had to carry it to call Rose's spirit home. She squeezed my fingers. When the flame burns red, that means your mom's soul is inside. Then you come straight back, no matter what you hear. Jordan, this is a ghost road lamp. Light it and you'll walk the ghost road. On the ghost road, never look back. Leo, swear to me, swear you won't turn around. If you do, you'll lose her and your own life along with hers. I gave her my gravest nod. I understand, Eleanor. She pulled a jade locket from her pocket and slipped it over my neck. It's been blessed and kept in the prayer shed for 10 years. With this on, no spirit can touch you. If anything wicked steps in your path, just show it the locket. I touched the warm jade and felt steadier. I said goodbye, lifted the lamp, and started up the ridge. At first everything felt normal. Then, after a while, I realized I was walking in circles. I'd passed the same blackjack oak 8 times. Creepy as hell. Cold sweat soaked my scalp. My teeth clacked like dice in a cup. Suddenly Eleanor stood ahead of me under the tree, waving. Jordan, come here, child, I'll lead you out. Relief flooded me. I almost ran to her, then my chest flared with heat. The jade locket was burning. I yanked it out. A fierce white light burst from the stone and stabbed my eyes shut. When I could see again, the whole world had shifted. There was no Eleanor, only a sheer drop where she'd stood. One more step and I'd have been meat on the rocks below. Ice washed down my spine, but fear had to wait. I hoisted the lantern and jogged toward the bluff. I don't know how Maxwell I climbed before the scarlet coffin came into view. Following Eleanor's steps, I jerked the iron spikes free and snapped every strand of red twine on Rose's body. But the lantern stayed white. I hopped from foot to foot, clawing at my hair, then dropped to my knees. Mom, I broke your heart and I know it. I was wrong. Mom, please forgive me. Come home with me. I knocked my forehead on the boards until blood ran, and I didn't stop. A warm breeze brushed past, smoothing the cut on my brow like a mother's fingers on my cheek. At that moment the lantern blushed red. I sobbed with joy, snatched it up, and sprinted for the trailer. From way off I saw Eleanor waiting in the doorway. When she spotted me she cried, she's saved, my girl's saved, over and over. Side story 1. Eleanor said the blistering sun had drained Rose's spirit. Rose was in a deep, unbreakable sleep. Eleanor would take her home and tend her shrine. She didn't know how Maxwell Rose would sleep 50 years if they were lucky, maybe 100. But however Maxwell, there was hope. She wanted me to come with her. I shook my head. Eleanor, I'm staying. Someone did this to Rose. I'm going to make them pay. She argued until her voice cracked. I didn't budge. At last she sighed. You're your mother's son, all right. Leo, I won't force you. Just promise me you'll stay alive. When it's finished, come home. My door is always open. I gave her my solemn word. Side story 2. Folks in Stillwater still tried to mess with me now and then. I chased them off with a length of lead pipe. I stayed in the trailer 40 days. When I swallowed the last bite of the final scrawny hen, Pastor finally showed. I led him up the ridge. Because I'd staged everything, the hill looked exactly as Creed had left it. Creed bought the lie. I told him, "Take me with you." Pastor studied me, curious. Why? I spoke straight. First, I can't survive alone. Second, I want to hunt demons the way you do. Those 4 words "hunt demons" flattered him. Creed agreed to take me on. For 8 years I served him like a faithful son. Creed went from cool courtesy to calling me the boy Creed never had. On my 18th birthday I asked, "Preacher, that story about the Virgin of Puku, you made it up, didn't you?" "She was my real mom." "You were scared you couldn't beat her, so you used me to cripple her. Am I right?" His eyes flickered, then Creed exhaled. "She wasn't human anymore. Killing her was justice." I gave a cold laugh. Sure, Rose wasn't human by then. But if you'd faced her straight up, I could have lived with it. Instead you made her own son strike the killing blow. That's low, even for a man who quotes scripture between swindles. Pastor stared, stunned, then screamed, "Ungrateful wretch." I drove the knife into his chest. "Now taste what it feels like to die by the hand you raised."